priceless reporters furious about what Trump made them do at SCOTUS announcement. This is simply priceless. Personally, I think this is magnificent trolling of the media. Reporters were furious when they were led intentionally right by a portrait of Hillary Clinton on the way to the East Room for President Donald Trump's announcement Monday night of his second Supreme Court nominee, Judge Brett Kavanaugh. A not-so-subtle reminder that elections do have consequences and to never be so arrogant that you figure your candidate will be elected no matter what. President Trump has turned all those false expectations on their proverbial heads. Good times. The Daily Caller's Benny Johnson had a ball posting photos to Twitter that confirmed that the walk of shame was absolutely intentional. Benny asked Deputy White House Press Secretary Hogan Gidley about it. In a troll of deeply epic proportions, White House staff just walked all reporters and journalists covering the SCOTUS pic by the dumpster and a portrait of Hillary Clinton. When I asked at Hogan Gidley 45 if that was on purpose, he said absolutely. That is the funniest thing I have seen in quite some time. Voice of America's Steve Herman posted photos and video of the press before the announcement. Needless to say, they were not amused. Too freaking bad. As the announcement that Judge Brett Kavanaugh was the chosen one to fill the vacancy left by Kennedy on the Supreme Court, dozens of members of the white press corps probably wept as they drifted past Clinton's portrait. The large gaggle of reporters was walked through the bowels of the service area, past some recycling and trash compactors and directly past Hillary Clinton's portrait hanging in the White House first floor hallway. Trolling in more way than one here. Epic. I love it. After the announcement, reporters were ushered down the stairs and past the portrait once more back to the press room. The walk to the East Room was entirely different than when Neil Gorsuch was nominated. This was an in-your-face flaunt that was just historic. Nothing like their defeated leader to hit the point home that they are now in President Trump's White House and the Supreme Court is about to go conservative for decades, all because Barack Obama was arrogant and thought Hillary could not lose. You see, if he had asked Ginsburg to step down, he could have put a young liberal in her place that would have served for many years. Instead, the honor goes to President Trump, thank goodness. By most accounts, Kavanaugh is a constitutional originalist who is pro-constitution, pro-GN, pro-freedom and pro-police. In other words, he's everything the left hates. You just know that Hillary Clinton heard about the press being taken by her portrait. I imagine she is furious. Seems to be a lot of that going around these days. It didn't get news coverage, but the right is smiling this morning over it and the left is wailing and gnashing their teeth over it. The response on social media was hysterical. This was a terrific way to celebrate the nomination. Sometimes, I truly envy Trump's sense of ironic humor. Imagine what Hillary Clinton would have done to the Supreme Court if she had been elected. Shudder. Merrick Garland would have only been the beginning of the gutting of the High Court. Oh, what might have been for the Dems, but wasn't thanks to Trump. Hillary Clinton is evidently unavailable for comment. Ouch. You know what they say. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Hey. Nobody trolls like President Trump. Nobody. Now, the confirmation and the real fight begins. President Trump will win there as well, and I will have my popcorn in hand to watch the meltdown over it. Liberals are already weeping. Kamala Harris is literally bereft with apocalyptic grief. I'm not kidding. Trump's Supreme Court Justice nominee, Judge Kavanaugh, represents a direct and fundamental threat to the rights and health care of hundreds of millions of Americans. I will oppose his nomination to the Supreme Court. Well, that's fair. We oppose you in general right back. Shannon Watts, founder of the anti-GN Moms Demand, went ballistic regarding GN control. Judge Kavanaugh has applied an extreme and dangerous interpretation of the Second Amendment when determining whether a law is constitutional, one that does not take into account a law's impact on public safety. More from Shannon. Judge Kavanaugh has made clear he would strike down prohibitions on the A5 and other assault-style weapons. In 2011, he dissented from a decision upholding Washington, D.C.'s prohibition on assault-style weapons and its requirement to register handguns. Watts was just warming up. The dissent put Kavanaugh at odds not only with the two other Republican-appointed judges on the court hearing the case, but also every other federal and state appeals court to address the issue. Last but far from least is this nugget: President Trump vowed he'd never let the Atenari down, and with the Kavanaugh pick, he chose someone whose judicial record demonstrates a dangerous view of the Second Amendment that elevates GN rights over public safety. The Senate should vote down this nomination. Too bad, so sad. Shannon. Kavanaugh will be confirmed, and he is a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. This is me doing a Snoopy dance. I could go on and on as the left was screaming cats and dogs were sleeping together last night, but aside from the Second Amendment, what really has them over the edge is Roe v. Wade. If it gets overturned, it becomes a state's issue, but you would think that taking away infanticide was the worst thing ever. I suppose if you are into evil, it might be. The rest of America doesn't feel that way. Billionaire liberal Tom Steyer is beside himself. With Brett Kavanaugh as his SCOTUS pick, Mr. Trump is trying to force his repressive, bigoted agenda into our courts, and our lives. If confirmed, American citizens will hemorrhage basic rights, and corporations will have an open door for a hostile takeover. No. Trump is setting America free and restoring constitutional principles again. Constitutional rights will be reinstated and leftist ideology overturned. Long live the Trump agenda. The media had their reminder